I knew this was only a matter of time before it happened, but Tiffani-Dawn Sykes is out as the FAMU athletic director. I can't say that both sides won't be happier because of this. Oh, yeah, it's locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum, and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current contributing writer at USA Today's Saints Wire. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Make a Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey's over. Just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Hit him with the little Kareem hook shot. But starts with an S, ends with an S. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. Time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Y'all know the drill. Make sure you also follow on the Instagram. We're trying to get the professional IG popping. So that is at Darian Gray Media right now. Hopefully we'll be able to change it to @_Mouth of the South very, very soon. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. We'll wrap up today's episode with a rare sellout of a home game by North Carolina A&T. They were able to pull off a second home game sellout outside of the homecoming game, and this time it's against Winston-Salem State. This matchup is just money. But prior to that, it's a two-part. Tiffani-Dawn Sykes is out as the FAMU athletic director. I do think that both sides are going to be happier because of this. I just think that this is what both sides needed to me. But in segment 2, I do want to go over how I believe the last 8 months have tainted what should be a much better legacy or a much better memory for Tiffani-Dawn Sykes. But listen, the headline of Tuesday: Tiffani-Dawn Sykes is out as the FAMU athletic director. That was the biggest news. I was out trying to chill, kick with my brother, going to school the next day. I was like, all right, let's go ahead and do what we got to do before you go to school, bro. And I got a call. Hey, Tiffani-Dawn Sykes, she out. I said, what? All right, so boom, we get active, we get home, we start doing the research, and here we are today. Because I did want to make sure I got a full scope, but I didn't really need a full scope to say that I think that this is what both teams or both sides needed. I can't really say I needed the full scope to tell you I expected this. I posted a clip on Twitter and on that Instagram that I'm talking about. The IG really going to be flowing, so I really suggest you check that out. But I posted a clip on social media that referenced the fact that, hey, this was an inevitability. This was going to happen. It was a matter of when, not if. I genuinely believe that this was an inevitable case because the tensions were too tight. Matter of fact, let me play the piece, because this is from a former episode that we did about Patrick Crarey. Let's play that part right here so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Have some trust in Tiffani-Dawn Sykes. And that's the part. This is the part right here that gets me. The Tiffani-Dawn Sykes Board of Trustees relationship cannot continue as is. There is absolutely no trust between those two units. Because I look at Dawn Sykes and I look at the last two big decisions that she made in the two biggest sports on campus, football and men's basketball. I don't care what side you land on. There is clearly distrust there. They didn't like her pick for football. They don't like her pick for basketball. With football, that got deboed and they went with their person. Once again, I don't care what side that you're on. I'm showing the line of distrust between the two people. This is not me picking a side. This doesn't need to be about you picking a side. And then you look at men's basketball. She said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and give this person a 3-year, $150,000 deal. They said, no, we're going to give them a 1-year deal, and we revisit it afterwards. Are you going to trust Tiffani-Dawn Sykes or not? Are you going to trust Tiffani-Dawn Sykes or not? And so I paired that clip with a quote on Twitter that said, these were my comments on a relationship between Tiffani-Dawn Sykes and FAMU just a week ago after the Patrick Crarey deal. This split felt imminent and inevitable. That's just kind of a seconding of what I said earlier. This felt like when, not if. I didn't think that pieces were going to come together. I told you guys, there's absolutely no trust in Tiffani-Dawn Sykes. There's no trust in her from the people who need to be trusting her. And quite frankly, we always look at it from that side. But to me, if I were her, I would have wanted to leave. It didn't happen the way that I thought. I thought that basically the board would come together. And I don't know how those decisions are made, but I assumed it would be the board versus Tiffani-Dawn Sykes. Somebody had to go. Either multiple people of the board of trustees had to leave or Tiffani-Dawn Sykes had to leave. That's not necessarily how we got here. We did get to what I believe to be an inevitable result. By the way, oh my God, did you hear that call during the Olympics? Snap his fingers, he's inevitable. Ooh, that was fire by Noah Eagle. But that's what this felt like. Snappy fingers, it was inevitable. I didn't expect to get to it to this route, though. And this came by the way of interim president, because when you look at the interim president, Timothy Beard, he's the one who said everybody in leadership needs to go. This is a Tiffani-Dawn Sykes moment because she's the biggest name, because she's been in the headlines. All of these things are, I don't want to say about her because they're not. And I think the idea that they call for all of these people to leave for Tiffani-Dawn Sykes, that's some movie stuff. This was not an elaborate plan to get her out of here. I don't believe that. I do genuinely believe that the interim president wanted to make some wholesale changes. I think the interim president wanted to make FAMU in his image. I think that's pretty bold for a guy with interim still on his job title. Definitely feels like a president move, but I guess you got to walk the walk before you talk the talk, right? Fake it till you make it. But this just felt like a very bold move, but he had the support of everybody he needed to. Number one, who'd he have? The board of trustees. It always comes back to it. I don't know what level of power that board of trustees have everywhere, but it feels like FAMU's board of trustees are very important when it comes to making decisions. It feels like the board of trustees are put in on every single major decision and have a major voice every single time, right? That's what it feels like, because he wrote a message. He wrote a layout of, hey, this is what I want. I even gave you a way to give your resignation. The first document was, hey, we want you to know that we want you to resign. Don't worry about it. Scroll a little bit and go to document 2. That'll tell you exactly how you should resign. If you need a template, if you kind of rusty on the resignation process, this is how it should go, right? So you talking about the chief operating officer, the provost, the general counsel, the athletic director, the chief of staff, the communications director. You had all of these people who he said, we want you to go. This is a wholesale leadership exodus. That's what this is. This is everybody in a leadership position. We want you gone. We're going to replace you. Now, I will be interested to see who decides to resign, who doesn't. Tiffani-Dawn Sykes, by way of HBCU Game Day, did not resign. She was fired, right? And actually, let me read you this. Let me read you this direct quote, because I think that it plays a part in why I feel the way that I feel. This is the quote from the request. He says, Beard says, please know that this request may not be a reflection of your individual contributions or dedication to our university. Our hard work and commitment to the university over the years have been invaluable, and we deeply appreciate the many ways you have served our community. However, at this time, we believe that new leadership is essential for the university to achieve its long-term goals. It may not have been an indictment, or it may not have been a reflection of your individual contributions, as Beard said, for most of them, but I can guarantee you that with Tiffani-Dawn Sykes, this was a reflection of her individual contributions. I can guarantee you it was, especially with the board of trustees in there. That's the sentence that always gets me. Please know that this request may not be a reflection of your individual contributions and dedication to our university. That is a fact, in my opinion. That is not made up. That is a fact that, hey, we just want to go a different direction. This is what it looks like when somebody wants to make something in their image. This is what it looks like when a person says, I'm stepping in and I want all of my people. It has nothing to do with what you've done in the past. It has to do with what I'm trying to do in the future. I do genuinely believe that. But when the board of trustees get involved, and I know their relationship with Tiffani-Dawn Sykes, I can't help but believe that they voiced the fact that they think the AD should be gone. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. And I'm be honest with you, I'm happy for her. When it comes to Sykes, I'd want to leave. I know you want to be at FAMU. I know you didn't resign because you want to be here. But man, I wouldn't want to work with people who clearly don't trust me. I wouldn't want to work with people who we're never seeing eye to eye. That goes for both sides. Sometimes people just need to split. Sometimes people just need to go their separate ways, and marriages end. And this one needed to end. This one was necessary. It was going to only get worse. So I'm glad that it happened early. I think the fact that it happened right before the fall semester started was kind of crazy, right? Like, I ain't in school, but I'm assuming that school starts in the next couple of days, in the next week or so. Guys, this was a crazy time to tell everybody in leadership they need to go. But whatever, FAMU's doing it their way. President Beard, interim President Beard, is doing it his way. We'll see how it works. But I want to go in and I want to look at how these last 8 months have genuinely tainted the memory and the legacy of Tiffani-Dawn Sykes as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime, and Gametime is the only place I would tell you to go buy some tickets. Now, it's on you to download the app. Everybody has one of these right here. Everybody has one. This is a phone. I don't care if it's an iPhone. I don't care if it's an Android. If you got an app store, whether it's Google Play or the actual app store on Apple is what it's called, go ahead and go to the Gametime app, download it, and use the code Locked On College, or use the code Locked On College to get $20 off your first purchase. It's not complicated. Football, concerts, basketball, WNBA, MLB, athletics, period, concerts, comedy shows, theater plays, everything. It's all there. All you have to do is go ahead and download the Gametime app. Like I told you, it's right here. You got one of these. You may be listening to me on it right now. It's on you. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code Locked On College, and you get $20 off your first purchase. And I guarantee you, once you take advantage of those zone deals, your first purchase will not be your last. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On College Football. The football season is only a week and some change away. Next week, we'll be back, or we'll be in week 0. We'll be back in the collegiate season. So go ahead and check out Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, because he's keeping you up to date with everything it is that you need to be prepared for the college season. Unfortunately, FAMU will not have AD Sykes for their collegiate season this year. I think that is a real detriment, but I'm happy for her. I'm happy for them that they got what they wanted, because nobody wants to be in a bad relationship. So I'm glad that everybody got out. But those last 8 months, the calendar year of 2024, that has really destroyed what I believe her public reputation is to people who don't really matter to her getting a new job. I do believe that those who are hiring her, I think those who are in her circles, I don't know how much they're swayed by this. So I don't want to say that it's going to hurt her professionally, because I genuinely don't think that it will. Not a lot, at least. But as far as how she's remembered, the legacy, I think that these 8 months have tainted it a lot. I'm obviously not on that side. So I want to be very clear. I'm not trying to criticize her when I talk about how this has been tainted. I'm only speaking about everything that's happened around her job, everything that's happened around FAMU and around her, and how I think it has negatively impacted how she's been perceived by a lot of the public. She started this job in 2023, January of 2023. So she had all of that year, and then the beginning of this year, about halfway through. That's 20 months. The last 8 months have been absolutely horrendous for her PR. If we're talking about public are we talking about well, I just forget what PR stood for. Public reputation? Is that what PR stands for? Anyway, I know what it is, but like for some reason I just forgot what it stood for. But if we're talking about how she's viewed in the public. This has not been a good 8 months. And it started at the beginning where public relations. Okay, anyway. This is a live show, guys. I record this in real time. I'm not stopping. But in the last 8 months, Tiffani-Dawn Sykes has been tasked with hiring the two biggest jobs as far as head coach goes on the college campus. Football, men's basketball. That's as big as it gets. She's been tasked with having those jobs. She's been tasked with having to hire those positions. And each time, I think the public perception that has been put out is that she is inadequate at her job. Not just she made the wrong call, she's inadequate. That's my problem. It's never seemed like over these last 8 months that people just disagreed with who Tiffani-Dawn Sykes selected to be her coaches. It was always something extra. It was always she's inadequate. It was always she's not fit for the job. She's an idiot. That's what it always felt like. Never felt like we just don't agree with that. Always had to be the extras, and I'm not a fan of it because, listen, if you're not tapped in, if you're not looking at everything that's going on, which a lot of people aren't. A lot of people just aren't looking for everything. You're only going to catch what makes the biggest noise. And the last 8 months of her tenure have been the loudest part of her tenure, and it's been all bad with how people are speaking about her. When it came to football, boy, that's when it got really bad. When it came to football and Willie Simmons left, first off, she was blamed for that. This is not me here to tell you what's true and what's not true, right? I'm not here to tell you, well, she deserved to be blamed. I'm not here to pick anybody's side from this point on. I think I've said a lot of pro Sykes things in this episode leading up to right now. I'm probably going to say a lot more. But this is not me trying to be pro anybody at the moment. This is me giving the facts. This is me giving what I've heard, how people are speaking about her. And I heard people blame her for Willie walking out the door. Number one, boom, you couldn't keep Willie Simmons. That's an indictment. Then the next thing comes up, and the next thing is, who's going to be the coach? She picked somebody, and everybody, the entirety of the fan base, this isn't just the board of trustees. When Tiffani-Dawn Sykes announced that she did not want to go with an in-house candidate, it felt like everybody who wore Rattler colors started going in on her and expressing criticism, harsh criticism on her decision to not want to pick from within house. Do I agree with the person she wanted to pick? No, because I heard of some of the history between that coach and FAMU. I don't know if people were just using that. Sometimes people grab on the real reasons to make up for the fact that they don't have any real reasons. It's like, you don't really care about that, but because it fits your narrative, you'll bring it in and it makes you seem more valid. So I don't know. It could have just been the fact that people wanted in-house over anything else, and they would just latch on to that person getting into an altercation at a FAMU game in the past and say, that's why this wouldn't have worked here. I don't know. I'm going to choose to believe that there was a little bit of animosity towards that person. So I wasn't a fan of her selection. But do you see how easy that was? Do you see how effortless it was for me to just say I didn't agree with that selection? That was rarely what I heard. What I heard is that she was inadequate. What I heard is that she's an idiot. What I heard is that this is the easiest decision. How are you fumbling this? You clearly aren't fit for this. You clearly shouldn't be here. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing full out indictments of her in her job instead of just saying, hey, I don't like that. That's not the person I like. Maybe I'm asking people to be a little bit too realistic. Maybe I'm asking people to be a little too calm. Maybe that's my fault. But what it felt like is that people just wanted Tiffani-Dawn Sykes to do what they wanted her to do, what they felt like was the right vision. You got to have trust. Didn't I say it in that beginning clip? You got to have trust. If you're not going to trust her, you got to let her go. And what did they do? Let her go. Because there's no trust there. There was absolutely none. And when I'm looking at her and her decisions, they were never backed. Whether you're talking about football or basketball, because basketball wasn't too much better. When you have the entirety of a fan base telling you, right? Like, let's say you're just a random fan of any HBCU. Let's just use Texas Southern because I'm a TSU alum. Everybody in FAMU world is telling you that this woman doesn't know what she's doing. Everybody in FAMU world is telling you how dare she make this decision. They absolutely revolted against that. All right, cool. It made her an easy target. Let's move on. Time is gone. She said, all right, y'all got James Cozy. Is what it is. We're going to see how it works. She gets to the basketball team, and she finds a guy, Patrick Crarey. Let me read to you what a member of the board of trustees said. I quote, everyone knows that it takes time to everyone knows it takes time in a program to rebuild. I get that. This is the part that kills me. I just got done telling you how when Tiffani-Dawn Sykes selected who she wanted to be the football head coach, it felt like everybody in the fan base revolted against her, and that included the board of trustees. Then, when she picks a basketball coach, this is what somebody in the board of trustees has to say. I want to be careful with what I say because I'm not trying to be disparaging, but out of 50 candidates, this person probably wouldn't have finished top 5 in most races. Just say you don't trust her. You don't think she's, come on. Out of 50 candidates, this person probably wouldn't finish top 5 in most races. Are you kidding me? That's a quote. That is a quote of what you are saying about her selection. In other words, you don't think she knows what she's doing. I don't know if it can be any clearer. There's no trust here. And over the last 8 months, they have told you that she picked a candidate that wouldn't be top 5 in most races. Terrible selection, undercutter, said you don't get a multi-year deal. By the way, I think Patrick Crarey is out of there after a year guaranteed now, unless he comes in and makes absolutely crazy strides, which I actually wish that he does. I hope, and this has nothing to do with FAMU, I hope you get another great coach after what I'm saying. But I hope that Patrick Crarey comes in and looks amazing and then leaves. You didn't want him there. The person who pushed for him is now gone. You pushed her out. I hope that FAMU gets a great coach the year following, because I do not wish on FAMU's downfall. But the way that they treated that man, the way that they treated the woman who brought him in, I feel like was wrong. I feel like they gave him and now her the short end. Well, even then, I felt like they gave them both the short end of the stick. That's my personal opinion on all of that. Right? Crarey is on a 1-year deal, and if he does good, we'll revisit it. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here with that crap. What good happened? What they don't remember is Tiffani-Dawn Sykes came in right after that whole debacle with the North Carolina game where you didn't have enough players eligible, or you had multiple players who were ineligible. You brought in multiple people on the compliance staff to go ahead and build that out. We don't want that to be a problem again. Good. I appreciate that. You make an app so you can have a streaming service. You look at the APR, which is, all about the academics, perfect in multiple sports. You're looking at the quality of person. I don't actually hear, before any of this, I didn't hear nobody speak bad. I heard nothing but glowing remarks about Sykes. The person that she is, the relationships that she has built, to me, were heavily intact. They were praised. She was the executive of the year via Nike before all of this crap happened. Actually, that happened in the storm of this. That happened right in the eye of the storm. But when I hear how people speak about her before all of the back and forth about football and basketball, it was amazing. And I don't think that went away. So I do believe she is going to land on her feet. I wish her good luck. I'm glad she got out of a situation that was not good for her, even if she did not want to leave. I'm happy for Tiffani-Dawn Sykes. And if that makes me pro Sykes, I don't care, because quite frankly, I am. That's what it is. North Carolina A&T has sold out a game that is not homecoming. And that is a rarity, but it's not quite a rarity when they're facing Winston-Salem State. So let's break that down as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On HBCU. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day, every day, making it all the way to segment 3, and I thank you 2 times for that. We got all of the Tiffani-Dawn Sykes news out of the way, and now I want to briefly get to North Carolina A&T and their sellout, because this was really cool. A lot of times when you hear people speak about HBCUs and the attendance part of it all, what you'll hear is, oh man, they don't be going to the games, and like that's what you'll hear. I'm not here to tell you that's not true, but what I'm here to tell you is when we have some good attendance news, we need to go ahead and get that up. We need to go ahead and speak about that more. And that's what we're doing here. North Carolina A&T has sold out a second home game for the first time in 13 years. It hasn't happened since 2010. The game that they sold out is the North Carolina A&T Winston-Salem State game. And the last game that they sold out in 2010 was the North Carolina A&T Winston-Salem State game. This matchup right here is magic. And I know a lot of people say, well, if A&T was to just stay in the MEAC, they'd be better sellers. They would have more sellouts. Not true. They're in the MEAC for a long time. And over the course of this century, they've had 5 sellouts. Yes, this is their first one outside of the MEAC. But I find it difficult to credit the conference for the reason that North Carolina A&T was getting sellouts. It's because of the rivalry. When you look at who they faced in the games that sold out, it's Central 2017, Aggie Eagle Classic. Come on, what are we talking about? When you're looking at Winston-Salem State, that was 2006, 2008, 2010. That was when those teams were, when Winston-Salem was in the MEAC. So, like, if you want to say, oh, well, all of those happened when A&T was in the MEAC and they were facing MEAC teams, yes, but you don't see Delaware State up there. You don't see FAMU up there. You don't see Bethune-Cookman. You don't see Delaware State. You don't see Howard. You don't see these schools up here that are MEAC. All of them ain't. It's not a mixed bag. It's Central and Winston-Salem State. It's simple. It's the rivalries. That's what sells out. Specifically Winston-Salem State. This right here is magic. This right here is everything that you could want in a rivalry because 06, 08, 2010, they haven't faced off since 2010. And now you come back in 2024, 100 years of A&T, boom, you're back with another sellout. They're always going to sell out homecoming. Doesn't matter if they're winless, doesn't matter if they're undefeated. You are going to sell out the greatest homecoming on earth. That's going to happen. But it's been since 2010 that you have sold out another home game. And they were in the MEAC for a lot of those years. So I'm not really one to credit that. I think some people kind of overblow that. And from what I heard, people who actually look at the numbers of the attendance, it's not that much of a difference once they left the MEAC. That's what I'm hearing. But overall, it just looks like A&T and Winston-Salem is money, dog. It just looks like it's money. Winston-Salem won that last matchup. That was almost 15 years ago. That was almost a decade and a half ago that it happened. They're trying to see if the D2 team, at that time, they weren't a D2 team, but now they're trying to see if the D2 team can pull off an upset. It'll be interesting. I can't wait to see it. I think that's September 7th. That's the home opener, but it's the second game of the week, our second game of the season. The first game is ironically, it's against Wake Forest in Winston-Salem. But now the Winston-Salem Rams get to travel up to Greensboro. So that's going to be fun. This is going to be an entertaining game. I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait to see the sellout. I'm glad that it happened. And, we need to celebrate this, man. North Carolina A&T adds a second sellout to their schedule for the first time since 2010 and the 5th time this century. Maybe they need to schedule A&T versus Winston-Salem more often. But on tomorrow's episode, we will get to Texas Southern quarterback Jace Wilson. I wanted to make this a first or second topic, and I felt like that wasn't possible with Tiffani-Dawn Sykes leaving FAMU. So regardless of where we have to put in the order, we will speak about Jace Wilson and the Texas Southern Tigers because that's my alma mater, and we got to get to the second team all SWAC preseason quarterback. We'll do that tomorrow. In the meantime, in between time, till next time we hear each other, family. Take care. Stay blessed. Peace.